we're in the shade, but the sun has been mentioned many times. And then we've also talked about thinking but not thinking. I mean, we're saying, oh, don't think too much, but we're thinking all the time. I want to kind of reconcile those a little bit. I think it's just a artifact of words. In other words, there's inherent paradoxes in words. So we are thinking, but we're not thinking. So with the sun, we arrived here early, and if you have been noticing, the shadows have already shifted a little bit, and they're getting shorter as the day goes by. And I know that when I came back to the United States after having lived in Korea, I was kind of mystified by the mystical nature attached to the yin-yang symbol. People are having little pendants. They say, oh, it's the deep mystery of the Far East, etc. When what I had internalized and now understand to be true is that in ancient China they measured the shadows on a stick about yay high, I understand, and through the year they measure at the same time, and so it got shorter and longer and shorter and longer, and then they actually plotted that on a paper as a sine curve. And then since the seasons go in a circle, that was plotted into the circle, and that's what the yin-yang is. And so the yin-yang is literally just observing how the world works around us, and then putting it into some symbolic form, and then philosophical set of understandings. So if you look at the really ancient yin-yang symbols, they're not the classic one of today. The old ones have these strange little curves in them and so forth, and it turns out that they varied a little bit depending on where they were made, because they vary with latitude. So even where you are changes the nature of nature. If you're further north, south, up, down, that kind of thing. So that's the first part. Then they took that and they thought about it, obviously, and they said, this is something that is the way the world works. Let us bring our minds into accord with that. And then you get a philosophy that develops out of that. And I think, this is my own personal thought here, that since we think cognitively, we take ourselves out of accord of nature. We kind of leave the circle of life. We may be the only creatures that can do that. And so now we have to use our thinking, our mental process, to return to the circle of life. And even that becomes this kind of movement too. So I tell my kids, it's out of a comedy routine. It says, the mind is a terrible thing, period. And we must stop it in our lifetime. We must stop the tendency of the mind to leave the circle of life and find ways to bring it back into the circle of life. And to me, just as you think about that, you're doing Qigong, Tai Chi. And in fact, I didn't know this, and I don't know if you'd found subsequently, but the gong in Qigong is discipline, hard work. That's what that means. So it's a discipline of coming into the Qi. And I would say, okay, we're here right now looking at the sun, make shadows through all these items, and that is as valuable, maybe more valuable, an aspect of understanding nature than the name of this grass or what kind of bird made that sound. Those are all great too, but first is just kind of bringing our minds back into accord with nature. So one last funny anecdote, and then I'll turn it back to you. I used to work at a nature center in Arlington, Virginia, and one day a volunteer of ours, his name was Lauren Buddha, he still lives in Arlington, he wanted to show me his new car. So he drove down the road into the nature center. I ran out to greet him, and it was a Honda Accord. And I realized that it was Buddha in accord with nature. So we had a good laugh over that. That laugh, that just laughing at anything, is spontaneous. That's what humor is almost. You can't have non-spontaneous humor because it's the spontaneity of it that strikes our funny bone. And the Chinese word for nature is of itself so, 2 characters, and it's also used for spontaneous. So again, nature is just of itself so, spontaneous. It doesn't think in the same way we do. We're the part of nature that thinks that way. So you put all those together, and it comes back to where we are here. let's put our minds into accord with nature.
How about, and I don't know how you'll feel about, being into your nature ninja again, where you are playing with focusing out and the birds and the wind and on the sun and all of that, but also going in too, so that in and out, so that then there is a play. And so that's what the heaven and earth is too. So if we could start out with that, and if you bring your arms way out here, it's tense and it hurts your back. So you're just thinking about how soft, and you can go sideways and you can go back. So we're just making our way up. And feel how you can roll through your feet and move your knees. So you get to have, you can do any of these things that we did. You can reach up and through, you can push. And so what you're doing is you're almost being a leaf in the wind. Or maybe a seed that's flowing. And somehow you're making your rather indirect way back up. And now imagine that, say that you're in an undertow. You're some just wonderful little innocent creature that got tossed around in the waves. And there's a little bit of momentum there. But your dantian is intact. So, and you're in your calm relaxation. You've decided, I'm going to stay calm and I'll survive this. And see if it could be easier. You can toss yourself around and easily flow. And use times of going out of balance to catch yourself and go with the flow. So you're not always trying to be in control. It's being in control and out of control. So you can learn control by giving up some of it. Okay. Ooh, I like that. All right, everybody. Let's close our practice. We'll just bring in some chi, big drafts of chi. Ooh. And really, when you use your mind, it has tremendous creative power. So imagine taking a chi shower here. And then we're going to close the gate to our practice today and thank ourselves for our most excellent bravery, and sweep forward, and it's like two silk scarves are latching in the wind and they just sink down. And your right hand is a fist of strength, and your left hand is a hand of friendliness, and your thumb cocking is for mutual respect. We'll bring them together right at the forehead. Thank you all for sharing this with me today. And thank you.